Drew, Minister of Economic Development, among other portfolios. Honourable Peter David, Member of Parliament for the town of St. George. Bishop Christopher Baker, Bishop of the Pentecostal Assemblies of the West Indies, Grenada District. Mrs. Kathy James, Acting Chief Education Officer. Mr. Kenny James, Headmaster here at the GBSS. Mr. Basil Bonaparte, a former teacher at the GBSS. Evangelist Brian Worm, and of course the author for this evening, Pastor Stevenson Worm. Special invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everyone. That was not loud enough. Ooh, all right, that was not so exuberant. It's wonderful to see you here and to celebrate yet another milestone for Pastor Stevenson Worm. I want to take the opportunity now to invite Evangelist Brian Worm to do the opening prayer. And I want to say as he comes that he is indeed the brother, elder brother of the author.
Listen, good evening to everybody. I am the younger brother. Could we stand for prayer? God of heaven, we thank you for this moment and for the gift of creativity and inspiration that you have given to Stephen Worm to write this book on the history of the Grenadian Boys Secondary School. We ask for your blessings on this day of launch. May this book be a great source of information that keeps alive the history of this school. May it add to the growth of its readers and be a tool that connects both present and past students to its history and successes. Thank you for the support of friends, family, and those who have helped to make this dream become a reality. May this book launch, may this book touch lives, and may you ultimately get the glory. We pray that this book will experience good success in sales, and its author will receive the benefits of its hard labor. Bless the proceedings and those who would play the active part in this launch. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please do have your seats. Evangelist Worm just celebrated a milestone, so I was trying to actually help him with his ego this afternoon. We have with us as well Mr. Kenny James, and I wish to invite him now to make some brief remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I wondered why the emphasis is on brief, but as the headmaster, this is my school. And I have the necessary connections to ensure that if I need anybody removed from the compound, that can be done. Honorable Lennox Andrew, Honorable Peter David, parliamentarians, distinguished members of the head table, Bishop Baker, my acting Chief Education Officer, of course, the author himself, Pastor Stevenson Worm, and all of the members at the table, past teachers, lecturers of the University of the GBSS. Yes, put your hands together for them. The GBSS is what it is because of good leadership and good teachers good instructors, and that's why we're here. Old boys, old girls, well-wishers, those of you viewing us online, we welcome you. And it's my pleasure, as principal of the GBSS, to welcome you to this afternoon's proceedings. As we would say, great is the GBSS. Marcus Garvey said, and I quote, "A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots," unquote. To understand who we are, what we are, as the Grenada Boys Secondary School, you have to understand, you have to gain appreciation for the history. We, as I always say, we're not just a secondary school, but the GBSS is the Cambridge, the Howard, the Harvard, the Oxford of secondary education in Grenada and the Caribbean. And we have the old boys and old girls to prove it. In all facets of life, across the world, making meaningful contributions. This school, I always say, is the school that the Minister for Education and the politicians should be talking about whenever they travel internationally. St. Joseph's Convent is 150 years, but it belongs to the sisters. The Anglican High School belongs to the Anglican Church. The other boys' school over there, whose name I will not call, but you know who I'm talking about. They belong to the brothers. But this, by name and design, belongs to the people of Grenada. And so the necessary resources and investments must be made in the GBSS. So the next time we have such a launch, the level of humidity that we feel now, we would no longer feel it. We'll have AC. But ladies and gentlemen, we have moved from this to this. And it's a significant movement because the history of the GBSS every day is changing, is impacting the lives of people. So we're sitting here, and last week, we had boys who participated in the Carifta Games and did well. We have boys who traveled to North America, to the Pen Relays, and performed well. We won the Intercall Championship. All of these parts of the history. We've had some fires that destroyed many of our records. The first set of them, they captured here. The last set, captured here. A lot has happened. And so if you have a copy of the original, you really need to get the upgrade, because the upgrade takes you up to 2024 last year. And you want to be in the know. You want to be in a position to speak about your school with authority. This piece of literature is what we are using at school to ensure that our boys on entry understand the kind of legacy that they are expected to live up to. that they understand that when we talk about the torch handed on by others, you must keep a light today, that they understand that from reading the history. And I'll go further to say to you, the history of the GBSS is the history of Grenada. Because as you read, you would get to see the transition in political leadership, in the activities of the country, and how it impacted on the GBSS. So I wish to encourage you to ensure that you get your copy. As a principal, I want to say to my fellow principals and other schools, Pastor WORME has done it for the GBSS, and who knows, maybe he may have some time to do it for you too. But it's important, particularly in this time that we live, to have the histories of our institutions documented. And so if you have not started, I encourage you to have this as a project at your school. Ladies and gentlemen, again, on behalf of the vice principals, the senior management team, teachers, and students, current students of the GBSS, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this afternoon's lunch and to say to you, ensure that you purchase a copy, and remember, great is the GBSS.
Thank you very much, Mr. James. I have to say the closest I got to GBSS, I was 11 years old, St. Paul's Government School. Robert, do you remember that? And we had done common entrance, and I was waiting results, and my first choice was GBSS, right? Yeah. And then I passed, and then my parents said, nah, you're going somewhere else. Man, traumatizing. But indeed, I did look forward to my first choice of profession was a pilot, and I thought GBSS was the appropriate place, the appropriate doors to which I could access that, but that did not happen. So instead of pilots, I became a journalist. I wanted to travel and know the world anyway. So I did journalism instead. But thank you very much for reminding us of the importance of documenting our history, not just from a school's perspective, but from a national perspective as well. Thank you, Mr. James. Let's put our hands together again for him, please. We also have with us Mrs. Kathy James, who is the Acting Chief Education Officer. And I would like to invite Mrs. James now to make some remarks. I have to say, as she comes, that the applause are quite leaving some to be desired. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable Lennox Andrew and Honorable Peter David, members of the head table, the man of the hour, Mr. Stevenson WORME, principal, teachers, well-wishers, good afternoon. He said it, good afternoon. All right, it is indeed a great day for us to be here today because we're celebrating and we are appreciating that we have the opportunity to have documented the history of Grenada Boys Secondary School. Put your hands together for Mr. Stevenson WORME. The Ministry of Education is indeed proud when we have partners or persons who are interested in the affairs of our school and they work with us or they work in their own time and own way to document what has happened and what continues to happen. As Mr. James says, we need to document not just GBSS, but all our schools. One of the things that I encourage my district officers and principals to do is to market their schools. share the good things that are happening within our schools. Our education system is here with us, and there are good things happening, but sometimes what we see most of the time is that we share most of the negative things. I want us to change the dynamic, change the narrative, and start promoting and encouraging persons to share the wonderful stories that they experience within our school. Momentous occasion for Boys Secondary School and also Mr. Stevens WORME, as he has published the history of the Grenada Boys Secondary School. And it is indeed what we would say a beautiful moment. And those of you who have not started reading and you didn't get your copy, I would encourage you to get your copy, because you get the history of Grenada Boys Secondary School from when it started with just 10 students, all right, to now a population of over 700. So imagine you reading and going through the pages from since that time to now. You would have seen the growth of an institution that stands tall and continues to create history. And I want you to give Grenada Boys Secondary School a round of applause for, and I'm going to tell you what you're going to clap for. You're going to clap for the number of prime ministers that they have brought forth. You're going to clap for the financial experts that they have produced over the years. You're going to also clap for the Olympic champion, the sports specialists. You're going to clap for the teachers who have molded these people. You're going to also clap for the children who are right now within GBSS creating their own legacy and history. Give them a round of applause. Okay. He wants me to go through my whole speech, and I just want it to be brief. All right. So this work stands as a powerful tribute to an institution that has shaped generations, leaders, thinkers, change makers, and Grenada right here and beyond. Through its pages, we are reminded of the enduring legacy of Grenada Boys Secondary School, a school that has not only educated minds, but also nurtured values, discipline, and resilience. The book offers an updated and enriched historical account of GBSS from its establishment in 1885 to the present day. It traces the school's humble beginning, the vision and struggle of its early founders, the highs and lows of its development, and many outstanding contributions of its alumni to Grenada, the Caribbean, and the wider world. The story begins with Mr. Hallam W.B. Messiah, the school's first principal, who opened the doors of the then St. George's Grammar School in 1885 with just 10 boys. His pioneering leadership laid the foundation for what would become Grenada's most prestigious secondary institution. Since then, the baton of leadership has been passed through many capable hands, each steward contributing to the school's evolution. Today, that responsibility is proudly carried by Mr. Kenny James, the current principal, who continues to guide the school with vision and dedication into a new era of academic and social excellence. The Grenada Boys Secondary School has the distinction of producing 4 former Governor Generals in the Caribbean: Sir Leo de Gale, Sir Paul Schoon, Sir Wilfred Ebenezer Jacob, Sir Sidney Gunn Monroe. It is also the alma mater of 2 former Grenadian prime ministers, Sir Nicholas Braffett and Herbert Blaise. In sports, the name Kirani James resonates globally, a proud GBSS alumnus and Grenada's first Olympic gold medalist. He has remarkably secured gold, silver, and bronze in the 400 meters across 3 Olympic Games. GBSS also boasts of Junior Murray, Grenada's first Test cricket and Lyndon Victor, a decorated decathlete, world record holder, 2 times Commonwealth Games champion, and Olympian. In finance and governance, we celebrate the achievements of Timothy Antoine, Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, and his predecessor, the late Sir Dwight Venner, both proud sons of GBSS. As the school song so proudly declares, the feet of fathers and brothers are beacons marking the way, the torch handed on by others. We must keep a light today. That spirit of continuity and purpose lives on. And while the phrase, not for school, but for life we learn, is not a line from the school song, it beautifully captures the mission of GBSS to prepare young men not just for exams, but for life. I commend Mr. Stevenson WORME for this remarkable effort of documenting and preserving the rich history of the school. This revised edition does more than recount the past. It invites us to reflect on our progress, challenges us to uphold the ideals of excellence, and inspires the continued pursuit of greatness for the future. And so, as we honor the past, I wish to issue a challenge to all GBSS alumni. Wherever you are, let us not only wear the tie with pride, but also live the values it represents. The boys who wear that tie today need more than admiration. They need mentors, role models, and advocates. I challenge you to stand in the gap to guide, support, and uplift them with your time, your wisdom, and your presence. Let us ensure that the legacy we celebrate this evening is not just remembered in history, but actively lived through the success and strength of every young man who calls GBSS home. To all members of the GBSS community, past and present, this is your story, your legacy, and your contribution to nation building. Let us all remember and live by the GBSS motto, no reward without effort. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that inspiring address. I almost thought you went to GBSS for a while when you told the alumni, let us wear the tie with. But thank you so much. It's so important that we recognize the importance of those who've gone before and who set the stage for what we celebrate today. In talking about celebrating today, one of the persons who will address you this afternoon actually introduced me to cricket. We were great friends back in the day. In fact, he actually took me on a trip to St. Vincent with him to cover the Grenada St. Vincent game, I think, back in the day. And so I want to invite my friend Wayne Bob to join me on stage and to make some remarks. In fact, he's going to reflect on some of the successes and some of his time at the Grenada Boys Secondary School. Please welcome Mr. Wayne Bob.
Evening, everyone, and not even afternoon. It's not even yet. Let me just say the protocol being established because I'm not a very good speaker. We are here because of a problem. We are here because of a worm. And there are plenty worm in GBSS. I never said earthworm. I never said stomach worm. I said worm. A worm from Monjaloo. I don't want to be a worm. I'm a bub. But I understand that I have relations who are worm or who are worm. My deceased mother was from Labary, just across there. And she always talk about across so. Them people across so. Them people in up there by them worm and them. All she's saying is them worm and them. Let me begin at the beginning. We both went to GBSS. I can't wear this tie, so if deceased Biggs was here, I had to have it right up here. But I go feel hot, so I wear where I want to wear it. There was a fella called, I can't remember his name, but he went to GBSS. And at a certain time in the year, does give out a, what they call a treat. A treat then was a soft drink and 2 hard buns. You have a fella, a certain fella, he whistling. Everybody want to know why he whistling. We getting treat. Why is he whistling? And you wouldn't believe it. The gentleman had 2 buns in his mouth. So he had to whistle. He had to try to whistle. This is not a joke. It might sound like a joke, but it's very serious. All you want me to call him? No, I ain't going to call him. I'll go get in trouble. Right? Well, another thing we do, boy, in the GBSS, people were sent in Mighty. They were sent to the headmaster veranda or to the headmaster's office. I was sent to the office, and I was sent there with 3 other guys. So I knock, Mr. Baptiste. He looked at his watch, and he said, "Why are you here?" I said, "Excuse me, sir. I was sent there with these 3 gentlemen." He said, "Okay, you can go back to your phone." I did what they tell me to do. He tell me go to the office with them 3 gentlemen. I ain't do nothing wrong. But after that, I had to leave school as soon as bell ring. No prayer. That is why I was a good sprinter. I had to leave school fast. Another time again, we used to have break time. And so some of us, lunchtime. And lunchtime meant you went down the hill, across the by them people that are making a long bread, was bread and cheese, or bread and butter, or bread and jam. You jam it in your teeth and eat it. That was bread and jam. And that's what we did. Other than that, we played sport. Some of us were good at football. Some of us were good at athletics. They say I was good at athletics. I tell you, it's because them fellas make me run. That is why I was good at athletics. There were fellas who were good at cricket. I ain't seen none of them there. I'm being very honest. You know, you ever, no, all them play cricket. You have a certain fella who played cricket, who batted. And while he was batting, he was commentating. Serious, you know? Serious. I will hear him. In comes Johnson, the ball to, and he put, oh, what a lovely shot. That flew off the meat of the bat. In comes, how he named, the ball, and he dropped, oh, Max, stupendous. What a shot that was. It pierced the cover like a rocket. In comes a spinner now. In comes, he put the ball to him. And he hits that high and hard. It's going. It's gone. Let me see. I think that would reach somewhere in St. Vincent. But it's going. Then he would talk about the spinner again. You see, and he comes and he plays long forward. He settles down once more. And he goes back and he cuts. Oh, that's a late cut. Anything later than that is a percent. Gentlemen, ladies, this man is special. When I talk about special, I'm talking about special. That man commentating since he going to school, commentating. We watching him perform, bowling, batting, and he commentating. Now, what he is? Only tell me what he is. The best. He is a commentator, Mr. Stevenson Worm.
Let's give him a round of applause again, please. Mr. Weinbaum himself, one of Grenada's leading cricketers back in the day. I think he was one of the inspirations as well to Junior Murray back in the day as well. I remember those days when we, this is a joke, right? When I say when we wasn't doing anything. When I was watching them play cricket on the hard court in town, and we played volleyball for many years as well. So well done, Will. Thank you very much. We have now a video presentation from the eyes of the old girls. There's been a lot of focus on the young men at GBSS, but there was a time when in fact there were female students at the GBSS, and we want to get some perspective of that from the eyes of the old girls, Inspector Portia, Nicholas, and her sister. It's coming through on a video presentation.
for me, when I came in, I was afraid. I'm naturally a timid person. So when I see the big boys, like they sitting down there watching us pass along, walking, I feel nervous. But after a time, maybe a month or two, I started to feel a little relaxed because they wasn't harassing us or anything. And gradually realized that, well, they are big boys, but they are like big brothers.
To me, as I say, I never accustomed being around so much boys, although we was athletes and we used to take part in school sports. In one area, like the auditorium was the same place, and I never been in a hall with so much young men. And the way they stare you down, and you know, like we look like we little and girls and a lot of boys. But it was to me, I recovered before my sister because I'm more brave. And I felt at home. We felt loved. They protected us, believe me.
Yes.
They protected us. And they wanted to see us in front of no boss, you know. Okay. Yes, they was very, very protective. So we felt at home.
Ashby was a father. You know, it also, when I reflect now, Mr. Ashby, it was new to him as it was new to us. I've been a principal of a boys' school and then they put girls in the school. It was new to him, so he had to adjust. But he get to know the girls and their good qualities and whatever qualities, and he's a father-like figure, and he embraced us.
Mr. Ashby was not just a father, he was a mentor. He was for everything to us, because we father too. And Mr. Ashby stepped in whenever we reached in the school, he take over. We felt loved by Mr. Ashby. We saw the passion he had for the girls. And so up to today, we just say, Ashby girls, you know. We are Ashby girls, we're proud.
Every student has a favorite teacher, so to speak. Any particular teacher outside of Mr. Ashby that impacted your life?
Let me tell you, I was thinking about today, and I thought of Miss Lett, Miss Lucy Lett. She taught here for a good while, then she went over to teaching. She went and studied, then she went over to St. Joseph Convent. And she most likely is retired now, but she impacted on me. I remember how she dressed decently. Miss Lett, always well put. Skirt reaching under her knee, and Miss Lett was a beautiful lady, and she is still a beautiful lady.
Well, Miss Lett is one of them I admire up to today. Up to today, I dress in my uniform and I think about Miss Lett because she always dressed immaculate. She was an outstanding teacher, not just teaching, her dress code, her behavior, and she was one that we had a little netball team. And our first netball skirt was made by her this night. Yes, believe me, everybody laughing at us, but we felt proud because our teacher made our skirts, and we was proud we matched pass because we are proud girls from the GBSS.
Yes.
I also have Mr. Philip. I can't remember his first name.
Robert
Philip.
Yes.
Oh, that was the leader of Archer. And he comes and he make you know the Boradi spirit. And he used to push us.
He full of energy.
We was his girls. Up to now, he jumping up when he see us. He felt proud. We was good. We was behaving properly. We take instructions. Mr. Philip, you know another teacher, Miss Huckleys.
Yes, Miss Huckleys. Yes.
Miss Huckleys, once I'll give
And
you.
Miss
I know it's not
McQueen.
for long.
Yes.
Yes, we will come with Miss McQueen and Miss Philip. We used to have our natural hair. And she said, why you all don't go and pass some iron comb in it? That's Miss Huckleys. I said, Miss, we hair soft. She said, come let me feel it. And then when she felt it, she said to the other teacher, come, the hair soft.
We were athletes before we came. We went to the Cali's government school and we were competitive athletes. So when we passed and came to GBSS, it didn't take long for them to realize that we were good athletes and competitive enough to be able to run not just the school sports but intercolor. So every year since 1983 we were in intercolor, up to the point where just me alone went to intercolor in 1989. Marched with the flag, represent my school. I think I came fourth in that race and got a point for my school. So it felt good.
Let me ask, and when boyhood days are over, it's one of the lines in the school song, did you folks sing when boyhood days are over, or did you sing when girlhood days are over?
We didn't know about
We
that.
stood up
Days.
and we sung
We
when
cried.
boyhood days are over. No question about it.
Pride. We felt good. To me, boyhood is like the Bible say, mankind. So we sang, and we sang it out with pride, and we had no problem with these boyhood days.
One of the traditions in school was that boys who behaved badly or broke the school laws, they were caned. Now tell me, were there any punishment meted out to you folk that you would remember?
No, we never.
I wasn't.
You girls weren't that well behaved, were you?
Yes.
Yeah, we was behaved.
We were
We
well
was up to
behaved.
today. Up to
Only
today.
one thing I
Yes.
remember when I reached in Form 3 or 4,
3.
I think I put on a little earring that had a loop. And Mr. Ashby saw
Okay,
it.
she forget.
See.
Our aunt bought her earring for her birthday. My mother, she same aunt placed it on her ears, but we saw didn't have these things. Was a nice, just
Just a
wire
loop.
ear, is a gold, and she didn't take it out. And Mr. Ashby came in class. We was in 3B, and he told her to take it out, and she said, "I can't take it out." And she was so frightened. She's shaking and thinking, and she had to say, "Let my sister take it out." And Mr. Ashby said, "Okay, you have to go and get it out." And that's the only time. And believe me, once I had to go by Mr. Ashby, and it was for my fingernail. I had this flojo behavior.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I used to grow my fingernail very long, even before I knew about flojo. Since
She
I was a
liked
little girl.
it, yeah, she liked
always
long
had long
nails,
one hand.
pretty nails.
I'm left-handed, and my right hand was my pretty hand. Yes, and Mr. Grace Andy, he was a Guyanese, history teacher. That day he said to me, "You have to go outside the class and cut your nails." And I go outside and stand up outside in Forest 1. I was right outside there crying. I said, "Oh my God, I don't believe I may have to cut my nails." So he said, "Go by Mr. Ashby." I went by Mr. Ashby and he said, "Young lady, what are you doing here?" I said, "Mr. Grayson, he sent me because of my nails." He said, "Go back in your class." I felt so good. I said, "Mr. Ashby love my nails." That's why, for some reason, all the other girls say, "Mr. Ashby favor us." But we didn't used to be a bad. So even if you have these little long nails, we was athletes. And I think we didn't used to be a bad. I never Q-tex it. I never, but the only thing, it was a little long. Well, for me, I will live it over again. I will. I did not want to, as I said, but the moment time I reached the first assembly, it made me realize we are out for something great. I didn't see it as GBSS is the greatest. We always say we are the greatest. But all schools is important. But I'll come back. If I have to come back, I'll come back in the boys' school. And you know why? We had good teaching. Believe me, we had the upbringing, even if at our parents' home, we was taught the proper manners. GBSS didn't need to slack on that. Mr. Ashby didn't need to slack. We had to have manners. We had to have proper decorum. And, I didn't mention, we had a name, in the GBSS. This call us the Bionic Girls.
Bionic twins.
Yes, Bionic Twins.
Twins,
Yes. So, I'll come back. Yes, if God give me the opportunity to return, I surely wants to come back to GBSS.
Well, I can't help but say, great is the GBSS. What could I say? I have to say that my most embarrassing, I suppose is the word, memory of GBSS was Queen's Park, Ground 2, I think. I was the goalkeeper. I don't know what you're laughing at. At halftime, the score was 7-0. At full time, the score was 13-0. We called our principal and said, "Please come for us. We can't walk through town." Those were great days. Anyway, and if you know me then, I was quite short and chubby, and they said, "Simon, just lie down in the goal, lie down in the goal." but those were tremendous days for us as well. One of the persons who I've also had the opportunity to interact with in my early days as a journalist in my formative years as a journalist at the Grenada, Radio Free Grenada, of which I have to mention that the Honorable Peter David was my manager at the time, was one Lincoln Toro Depredine. In fact, Lincoln kind of took us through the ropes back in the day, and together with a gentleman out of Jamaica named Patrick Smichael. So Lincoln and I have maintained contact all these years, and he's definitely is best placed to address us this evening and to congratulate the author on his publication. His congratulatory message is on video.
Greetings, my dear brother Stevenson Worm. Congratulations on the launch of your book, History of GBSS, the Grenada Boys Secondary School, 1885 to 2024. I bring you greetings on behalf of the GBSS Alumni Association in Toronto, which I have the privilege at this moment to be the president of. This group, the Alumni Association, includes stalwarts such as Mr. George Griffith, Mr. Sincere, Patch Peters, and Ms. Vivian James, sister of George and Elliot Maguire. She was a teacher at the GBSS. It's opportune that the book is being launched on the 140th anniversary of the establishment of GBSS. And it includes the school song, in my view, the best school song in the entire wide world. And I know that it's also dedicated to people such as Miss Lord, Mr. Victor Ashby, Mr. James, and my favorite teacher, if I may say so, Mrs. Mason Francis. Congratulations again, Stevenson Worm. And the book, in my view, is nicely summed up. The story of the GBSS in one paragraph that I read in perusing your book. It says that the GBSS has consistently fostered each student's intellectual development, the student's love of learning, and strength of character within a supportive and challenging community. Students have always been encouraged to become independent thinkers and learners. GBSS richly varied curriculum extends beyond mastery of fundamental skills to the rewards of inquiry, initiative, and reflection. The school's vision is to contribute positively to society. GBSS has cultivated this educational environment in partnership with parents and the community. And that's so absolutely correct. I congratulate you again, and I encourage you to keep writing, and I encourage others to keep writing about the history, not just of GBSS, but of the varied interesting stories and developments of all communities, all institutions across Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. Congratulations again, Stevenson. All the best to you in the future. Bye-bye.
Mr. Lincoln Depredine, one of Grenada's leading journalists who is based overseas at the moment. I now wish to invite to the microphone Mr. Basil Bonaparte. He's a former Spanish teacher here at the GBSS. Please put your hands together again for him. Thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished people at the head table and all you distinguished people in the audience. Good afternoon. Now, what am I to say now? What am I to say? Well, let me focus on the reason why you are here. On one man, why you are here. The person of Pastor Stevenson WORME. I had the privilege to have Pastor Stevenson WORME in my class. And I remember on one occasion, it was in Form 4, I think. And he was sitting there at the back, an ideal student, very cooperative, very the kind of student you'd want any teacher would want to have in his or her class. And then in the course of the lesson, it was a Spanish lesson. There was a story about a hunter's wife. So, the hunter talked about his wife. He said, you know, there were other hunters around, and so he's talking about his exploits and experience as a hunter. And he said his wife was there with him in the camp. But his wife left him, as some women like to do, with all respect to you ladies. And she strayed. Remember, he's on there. And she came face to face with a lion. Face to face. And the lion stand up as if he's ready to spring at her, and the hunter remains. And the hunter remains. He stood up and he said, "Lion, you will not devour my wife." The hunter is talking to other hunters. So afterwards, the wife appeared on the scene. And the other hunters looked at him and said, well, wait now. Well, why you didn't want the hunter to devour your wife? Oh, ladies, I respect you. It's a bit crude. Why did you want it? He said. But it was a comprehension question. And so the question was asked, why was his companion so crude to ask such a question? That was the question, the comprehension question. I won't give you the answer. I won't give you the answer. I'll leave the answer to you to find out. But he said, "Lion, you will not devour my wife." And he said the lion obeyed him. The lion obeyed him. But the problem was, the other hunters that he was telling this story asked him, why? Why did you? Anyway. I really want to, in this very brief remark, say congratulations to Pastor Stevenson WORME. That's really the focus of my brief remark here. Pastor Stevenson WORME sat in my class many, many years ago. I think it was a Form 4. Ideal student. The kind of student any teacher would want to have in his class. Very good. But as I congratulate him on the production of his book, I have to mention his mastery of the English language, both the written and the spoken. One of the fame one of the famous activity of Pastor Stevenson Warm is his commenting on cricket as a commentator of cricket. And I recalled that when there is a cricket match on, international, West Indies against Australia or whatever, and Pastor Warm is commenting, I leave whatever I am doing to just listen to him. To just listen to him. Because he was a master commentator. You compare him to people like Tony Cozier. And so I say all that to say, when you buy his book and you read the history of the GBSS, you are going to be reading standard English and English at a high level. That is the language of Pastor Stevenson Warm. I want to throw out a challenge. Yes, the history of the GBSS, but we also need a history of education in Grenada. I realized that Trinidad has its history of education. Barbados has its history of education. So we need a history of education in Grenada. We need that. And maybe one or a few of you, you might co-author, intelligent ones, or Pastor Stevenson Warm will consider that too, writing a history of education in Grenada. So the principal said the next time, made mention of the next time we are having a launch of a book. Maybe the next time we will be launching a book on the history of education in Grenada, written by Pastor Stevenson Warm, or written by any of you there in the audience. So with that, I told Pastor, when he asked me to make remarks, I said, not beyond 5 minutes. Not beyond 5 minutes. And the important thing is that, before I sit down, when you listen to Pastor Stevenson Warm commenting, or commentating as they say, on cricket, I didn't realize, as I just heard a while ago, he was batting while he was commentating. I never knew that. So thank you very much, Pastor Stevenson Warm. Again, I congratulate you on the production of your book, The History of the GBSS. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Mr. Bonaparte. As I sat there and looked at the audience, I saw Ms. St. Francis, and I have to say it kind of triggered a memory that, in fact, I do have some association with the GBSS from across Tantine. I actually attended Anglican High School at the time. I was taught history there by Mrs. Wilma Sampson back in the day. So yeah, thanks for triggering that thought. So I do have a closer association with GBSS than I. Come on, I'm looking for reasons. Come on, I'm looking for some kind of reason. It is scraping the bottom of the barrel, what could I say? Ladies and gentlemen, when I was invited to do the master's ceremony this afternoon, I was handed a document that I was told I had to read in a very pedantic way. And I went through it, scanned the document. It's 2 pages long. And it was a highlight of my presentation to you this afternoon, to read the profile or the bio of the author. 3 seconds ago, I was handed a note. Forget the bio. After all this work, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me as a friend, colleague, someone who I tried to be in terms of cricket commentary. I tried all my life to be a cricket commentator, just wouldn't come, had no idea where the field was, the field placings were. So I gave it up after a while, and I just followed Stevenson's direction. So I'd like to invite the author, and I'd like you to put your hands together, please, and welcome Mr. Stevenson Worm to the podium.
Good evening to everyone. And I especially want to say how deeply appreciated I am for your attendance. Thanks, of course, to the two honorables who are here, in David and Andrews, and to the head table, which was already established. I want to thank you so very much for being here. It means a whole lot to me. Before I get deeper into what I would want to declare, and then, of course, if Richard had spent the next 5 minutes doing the bio, it would have curtailed what I had to say. So I think with much said about me, I don't think the bio was really necessary. So this is impromptu, and I would therefore ask Mr. Bonaparte to join me here. He didn't expect this. I didn't ask him if he could do so, but because I know he will consent, I've taken the opportunity to ask him to join me here. Mr. Bonaparte was my favorite teacher at school, and it might have been surprising to many that he was. He was not the most charismatic person in the world, but quite frankly, when he was finished teaching you, I can assure you, you were well taught. There was another Spanish teacher who, when we compared where we were at the time, the other Spanish teacher was way ahead of us, maybe 6 lessons ahead. And everybody was saying, well, Mr. Bonaparte was always way behind. But you know what? When he taught you, you were well taught. So there is a... So there's a story that Mr. Bonaparte spoke about, which interestingly is mentioned in the book. And I would like to tell you the story in Spanish, and he is going to tell you in English. And what he did not say at the end, I would seek to clarify it. Un cazador relata a sus amigos una aventura de caza en el África.
Okay, I'm going to interpret.
Yes, please.
Co-interpreter. So, a hunter I'm not seeing so well, so just say
Un
this.
cazador relata a sus amigos una aventura de caza en el África.
This boy born in Grenada, Latin America. So this hunter is relating to his friends what happens to him in Africa.
En A que ha intervenido su esposa.
Otra vez.
En la que ha intervenido su esposa.
Yes, in a situation in which his wife intervened.
Estaba entregado de trabajo de montar la tienda en plena selva.
So he was involved in setting up a tent in the middle of the forest.
Cuando al levantar la cabeza,
And when he would lift up his head,
me di cuenta de que un enorme león estaba a punto de lanzarse sobre mi esposa.
when he when he lifted up his head, he realized that a huge lion was at the point of springing on his wife.
Que se ha alegrado un poco del campamento.
Because, as most women do, she left him and she strayed away from the camp, as some women that would do.
No tiempo de ir a coger el fusil.
He had no time to go and collect the gun.
Y mirando fijamente al león
And so looking fixedly at the lion
y concentrando toda mi voluntad en la mirada,
and concentrating on his will on that lion,
dije en voz alta,
he said in a loud voice,
León, tú no devorarás mi esposa.
Lion, you will not devour my wife.
El felino dio media vuelta
The lion, the feline, take a half step back, turn around halfway,
y desapareció en la selva sin haber hecho el menor daño a mi mujer.
and he disappeared in the forest without even doing the least damage to the woman, the least injury.
En este momento entra la esposa del cazador
And at that moment, the wife of the hunter entered the scene.
en la habitación donde éste se halla con sus amigos.
Yes, where in the room where this hunter was with his wife, with his companions,
Y después de saludarles, desaparecí de nuevo.
and after greeting them, she disappeared again.
Apenas ha salido, uno de los amigos le pregunta al cazador, bajando la voz,
As soon as she disappeared, one of his friends asked the hunter in a low voice,
y oye, ¿por qué no quisiste que el león la devorase?
"Here now, oye." You know, Spanish is an interesting language. Oye, oye, here now. Why you didn't want the lion to devour your wife?
Okay, so that's basically the end of the story. So I'm going to tell you something that Mr. Bonaparte didn't tell you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
very much. You see, Mr. Bonaparte is so modest. So we sat in the classroom, and for about 5 minutes, he kept asking us, why did the hunter's friend suggested that the lion should have eaten her? And we could not get the answer. And he probed and probed and probed and couldn't get the answer. And then finally he giggled and said, "She the ugly." Look, we went into peals of laughter. It was quite amazing. And so there's so many stories about this great institution. It will probably take me an entire night to complete them. And just to think about it, I spent only 5 years here. But there were some great teachers. And one of the teachers who taught me back then, Mrs. Glenda Mason Francis, is here, and I would like you to put your hands together for her. Mrs. Mason Francis was revered, respected, and in some cases feared by many boys. I can tell you that. She has a voice that no other woman in the entire world has. If you hear her speak, only Mrs. Mason Francis spoke like that. And quite frankly, when she taught me for the first time in Form 3 for a brief period, I was scared when I learned that I had to be in her class. And when I was finished, I was so happy that finally I had moved away from her class. However, I had to face her in Form 5 again for the final time. And I was baffled as to whether she had changed or whether we had changed. But from somebody whom we feared to somebody that we embraced and loved, it was quite amazing. And then I learned subsequently, of course, years after, is that she treated us as young men. We were now young men, and she treated us as young men. And like her sons, so to speak. And we at times tried to get her in conversational French, and we tried everything, and Mrs. Mason Francis would not take the bait. All she said to us, she prefers written French rather than conversing, and we left it like that. Whenever you upset her, there was a favorite expression she made. And by the way, I don't know if Mrs. Mason Francis had to send anybody by the headmaster. She knew how to deal with you. If she did, it must have been very regularly. But she described us whenever we misbehave as, don't play the beast with the big ears. I never forget, she always said that. And I didn't like the expression because, you see, we didn't grow up cussing. And I knew what she meant. But it was a great experience for us. On graduation, I received the award for modern languages, for Spanish and French. To me, that was a prize award. But the thing that made me feel proudest was when the late Ralph Duncan and I received the award for deportment. And quite frankly, I may not have been as brilliant as Christopher Sharp or Trevor Lane and the others academically. But when I walked up to receive my award for deportment, I felt that this was the highest award in the school. I was happy to receive it. And so my tenure here was quite amazing. It was difficult, but quite amazing. We used to walk from Monjaloo. When we were late, we passed through Darefoo. Darefoo is now a highway. But back then, it was a little 2-feet track, if you know what I'm talking about. And there was this particular, I was coming down. I was late, so I was rushing. And I fell down, and of course, fell on my backside. And my bottom was all dirty. And for a moment, I deliberated as to what I should do, whether I should come to school here, which of course will cause a great deal of laughter, or whether I should go back home. But then I said, if I go back home, what would I go back home to? I can't change the pants because back then you had one school pants and one shirt. We washed it midweek, hang it up behind the fridge or under the house, and you iron it to come the next day to school. That's how we did it, really. And my long sleeve shirt that lasted, thank God, for so many years. It was something like the children of Israel, that God preserved their garments for 40 years. Somehow it lasted long. Though that long sleeve shirt was the same one that I used to go to church with. So my boys, subsequently, they had 5 shirts, one they can wear each day to come to school. You folk, this present generation is so privileged. But as I studied the history of GBSS, it fascinated me, and what was just mere inquiry or just a gentle look to see what GBSS was all about. As I worked at the National Library between 1983 and 85, I went through some of the blue books and the old chronicle, and I saw so many interesting things about this school, and I thought that one day I would write. And years later, I began writing, and the truth is, most of my information gleaned came from the archives of the Grenada Public Library. And that's why at this moment, I feel more than sad, but it is tinted with anger that our National Library has been closed for more than a decade. I don't know any other Caribbean country, inclusive of Haiti, where its National Library has been closed for so long. To me, that is a shame and a disrespect to our education in Grenada and to our young people. That is a shame. I hope that this administration or succeeding administration will think long and hard and do the right thing. Our archival material is second to none. I've been there, spent countless hours just going through all the old records that we have or had at the library, even our old West Indian collection. The only 2 countries in the region back then that probably had a better West Indian collection than we did was Jamaica and Barbados. And we really were hugging them very tight in terms of competition as to which was the best. I don't know what the state of our West Indian section is like in the library. To me, that is a shame. It really is a shame. But just looking back at the school and where it comes from its humble beginnings, and for those of you who may not be aware of it, the school started on Church Street. Back then, it was called Hospital Road. And it was called Hospital Road, of course, because that Church Street led up to the General Hospital. Later on, it was called Church Street. So where Barclays Bank was, and it's now Grenada Cooperative, around that area was Mrs. Gray's premises. That's where the school started. And later on, of course, it went to Melville Street back in 1910. And 1910, going across to Melville Street, was a pivotal time in the school's history. That's when the school really took off. And the population blossomed, it grew very quickly. And soon, of course, the space was not able to accommodate the surge of pupils that were desirable of getting into GBSS. And there were so many debates as to the relocation of the school. One of the locations suggested was the villa, and the late T.A. Marichaud was one of those individuals who felt that the villa where the late Nicholas Brathwaite lived around that area was a suitable space. But there were others who felt differently and suggested other areas. This area, Tantine, was suggested by several people, and it was commonly called, in my research, the suggestion was the Spout. But of course, all the Lagoon Road area there was swamp, really. And a lot of people felt that it would have been too expensive to work on the swamp area, to bring it to construction worthiness. Interestingly, of course, during that mid-1940s, with the World War II and the building of the barracks on this present site, and with World War II having come to an end, there was quite a lot of debates as to what the barracks would be used for. In fact, the initial thought for the barrack was to have like a national secondary school here, not the GBSS, where students from different parts of the country would assemble here as a national secondary school. However, that was, of course, drowned, and with the GBSS population growing so fast at Melville Street, the school was finally located here in 1946. So it's a tremendous evolution, and so much has happened in our school over the years. There's some very interesting stories. And of course, I can't relay everything because it doesn't make sense I tell you all about the book. And if I tell you that, then there would be no need for you to read. But this book chronicles every headmaster that passed through the school, from Halam Messiah, who was a gentleman from Barbados, and he was the headmaster here from 1885 to 1888. So from him to our present headmaster, Mr. Kenny James, you will be able to follow when every headmaster came and left. And that was quite a task in seeking to follow and chronicle it. But it was a task that I really purely enjoyed. We had our first female teacher here. Her name was Rosetta Smith, and she came on the teaching staff in 1918. And it was not until many years later, of course, we had teachers, of course, like Mrs. Mason Francis, who was like a lone ranger, so to speak. I think she came in 1964. And I believe that her presence in GBSS influenced many other ladies to come here and to teach and to give up their skill and, of course, to give up the knowledge to the school. And you may realize that in recent times, there are more females than males teaching. In fact, that is what is seen across the country. But this school has been rich in tradition. And the auditorium that you sit in here, I was talking earlier on with a few young boys, just giving them snippets of history in the school. And one of them was very surprised when I told him that this auditorium dates back to July 1956. It doesn't look like that. But this has housed thousands of boys and hundreds of girls over the years. And I remember the great days standing here and singing that GBSS cool song with all boys standing. And of course, we could not go up to the top balcony because that was reserved for the big boys. And if any of us was forward enough to walk up there, our heads became something that was softened by not little pats, but severe raps, as we call it. And we had to descend the stairs with rapidity because upstairs was reserved for the older boys. I could not wait to become a senior. I dreamed about being a senior, not to take advantage on younger boys, but I looked up to seniors so much. They were role models and great figures to take examples from. I remember distinctly the Honorable Lennox Andrews, so I'm not surprised that he's gone into the field of politics. But back then, we had the Student Council. I don't think Student Council exists now in secondary schools, but back then, the Student Council body was powerful. And when I tell you powerful, powerful. And so Mr. Lennox Andrews, he was vying, I can't remember for what position, PRO, that's right, PRO. He was vying for PRO. And he came up and he was delivering his speech and he was so persuasive. We called him, he wouldn't mind, we called him Toes back then. And not just Toes, but 9 Toes. And I remember him vividly coming up here and appealing to the student body for their votes. And then explained indeed that it was not just a nickname, but indeed he has 9 toes. And he was so persuasive. And in fact, he won the treasurership that year. It was, listen, it was real politicking back then, real politicking. All the candidates would get up here and state their cause as to why they should be voted as secretary, as president, as PRO and assistant PRO, as the case may be. It was quite amazing. Those were the great traditional days of GBSS. Can we get them back? I don't know. But when you were through, of course, with the exposure of the literary and debating society, fellas were able to speak. We had great orators here. Dillon Daniel, Christopher Nelson, Paul Peters, Harold Pisedy, Terence Radio Griffith. They held on to 6B in the debate. They went from 5G against 6B. And they beat the light out of 6B, with the team of Paul Peters, Harold Pisedy, and Radio Griffith. I can't remember who the sixth form debaters were. I think Wendell Thomas was one of them. I can't remember the 6B team. But it was so enthralling. It was such a joy and such a privilege to be at the GBSS. And as Inspector Portia Nicholas said, if I've got to do this all over again, I would not think twice. I'll do it all over again. Because indeed, great is the GBSS. Let me just Yes. Yes. Thank you. And from 1885, in fact, to 1964, and you would read the details in the book. At times when I was researching, I was a little bit upset because it was not until 1965, we had our first local bred headmaster, H.D. Batiste. I felt that that took too long. There's a gentleman I want to tell you about who was H.G. Hughes, Ambrose Hughes, who was one of the early locals that taught at the school for about 30 years, thereabout. And when headmasters left and there was a vacant space, they would not give him the position of headmaster. And quite frankly, he was qualified to be the headmaster of the school. And I was really happy when in 1964, we had H.D. Batiste. Before him, we had K.I. Smith. And then, of course, came Mr. Val Francis, who I was afraid of. Yes, Mr. Val Francis was a lovely man, but he carried this kind of frown, man, that, feel free was something else. We had a gentleman that came from Africa, and he was addressing the auditorium. And after he addressed the student body, he said to them, "You can feel free to ask any question." And the entire school went up in laughter. And the poor man wondering, what did he say? And Mr. Val Francis whispered to him, "They call me Feel Free." I did mention about it in the book. I sat in 2S2, and it was back across there. And I was sitting in Miss Alton's English class. She was a Canadian lady, white lady. And sitting behind me was one David Lord. And David, at times, could be very impish and took out one of his instruments from his geometry set and choked me. I'm not using prick, but choked me. And my arm started to bleed profusely. I got upset. And deep in my heart, honestly, I knew I could beat David, and I just knew I could beat David. But I had already vowed prior to coming in school that I would not get in any trouble, and I would spend my 5 years at GBSS cane free. But imagine this is 2S2. Miss Alton doesn't ask any question, sent both of us to the office. And I'm dead scared. Mr. Francis is not there, but he's coming back and finally walks up the stairs and gets to the office. We're sitting on the veranda. And he said, "What are you two boys doing here?" And ordered us to get into the office. And without asking for a vivid explanation, commanded Lord to close the window. Listen, anytime the windows are closed, you just know what follows. When the window reopens and you see fellas, they're cane. But let me say here quite frankly, I went in there and my explanation or my attempt to explain to Mr. Francis fell on futile ground. And then, because I had such a strong spiritual upbringing, I prayed silently but with deep intensity. And I said, "Oh God, thou seest my innocence. You know that I did not provoke David, Lord. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth that you would save me from the vicious whipping that I'm about to get." Then Mr. Francis looked at both of us and with his usual frown told us to go back to the seat, to our classroom. Those of you who don't believe in prayer, hard luck, because prayer did work. And so that was the closest I came to being caned. And I was extra careful thereafter not to do anything untoward that would incur the wrath of the headmaster. During our time, we had the very unique experience of having passed on the 3 headmasters in Mr. George McGuire, Mr. Val Francis, and right to the end, Mr. Victor Ashby. And we had a little period where Mr. Benjamin, I think it was, just for a brief period. And so that was one of the uniqueness of the boys at our time, because most boys passed through school just with 1 or 2 headmasters. But my tenure at school was a great one, an exciting one, and I wouldn't trade it for any other thing in the world. And it helped to shape my life. That's where I learned my cricketing skill. And yes, indeed, while I batted, I did commentary. While I fielded, I did commentary. When I ran into bowl, I did commentary. And when I was dismissed, I went in the pavilion, sat down, and did commentary. So there was never a dull moment. I want to encourage, please, everyone to, purchase a book for your own personal reading, And I hope that every student of the GBSS would have a copy of this book, every student, so that the legacy continues. Besides that, you may notice that I have written several other books. All are not here, but my most recent ones are here. So in the event that you would like to purchase, they're there for your money. Thanks a lot. I do appreciate you so very much. And thanks for listening to me. I hope I was not a bore. Thank you.
Some months ago, he was in a different place, and we were on the phone, and he was saying, well, I'm just finishing the GBSS one, and I'm doing a couple more. So where you get time and the thought process to go through so many different topics? And he said, no, I've discovered a secret. And should I tell him the secret, Steve? Okay, no. All right, so sorry. That's where the story ends. Can't But he's doing a couple more books as well, and a very prolific author he is. And so thanks for that presentation, Steve. And I look forward to reading this one as well. If I can't attend, I may as well know. We now will ask Bishop Christopher Baker to come to the microphone and pray for God's blessing on this new addition to Stephen's collection. Let's put our hands together, please.
We've been sitting for a while. Could we just stand for just a short moment? Bow our hearts. And we look to the Lord in a word of prayer. Our loving Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day, Wednesday, the 30th of April 2025, a day when we come before you to applaud and to celebrate the scholarship and diligence in authorship of our brother and our friend, Reverend Stevenson WORME. Today, Lord, I thank you for the life of Reverend WORME and the fact that you have journeyed with him over these past few months and years even, as he faced varying challenges at a personal level. Indeed, you have been a gracious God both to him and to his family. Thank you. This evening, we have gathered to rally around Stevenson and the history of the Grenada Boys Secondary School, as Reverend WORME is once more presenting to us the reading public the story of the GBSS. This is not his first telling of the illustrious past of this noble institution. Well, he has done it once before, and is actually now presenting to us the revised edition of the history of the GBSS, 1885 to 2024. This in itself is a remarkable achievement. I am certain, Lord, that this publication could not have been accomplished without your guidance and your covering, and indeed your help. So on behalf of all attendees at this launch activity, and even the reading public beyond, I pause to thank you for being the co-author of this text, and for the inspiration and strength that you have given to our brother in writing. And now, Lord, lift all and every copy of this book to you. And I ask your blessings upon them. I pray that every copy will be sold, read, and be preserved for posterity, that it will find a safe place and grace the libraries of every home and institution of learning. Once again, may God's blessing be upon Reverend WORME, and may this endeavor be a blessing to him, to his family, and by extension also our nation. We ask all these mercies in Christ's name. Amen. Amen. You may be seated.
Thank you, Bishop Baker. When I entered the room this afternoon, I was told that there was a young lady to brief me on the program, and she pointed to me to the GBSS school song. And I said to her, well, the only line I know is the first line of the chorus. The prize to the ones who earns it. And the only way I knew that was the words of the song, well, two ways. It was written here. And I think I heard Mr. Ashby at a GCNA meeting some years ago say that. So I told her, I can't sing this. I have no idea. So I'm going to call Reverend WORME back to lead us in the school song so I can learn more of what the chorus sounds like and be able to sing along with it. And I think it's also on the, it will also be on the overheads as well.
So it's going to be a sing-along. There'll be a video rendition, and I'll ask, please, all our GBSS, present, past, students, could we stand and let's do this. Yeah, we'll sing the good old-fashioned way. I should have asked Mr. Philip to come and do this for us. Your recreation in classroom or playing field, let those of each generation respect to tradition. The feast of fathers and brothers are beacons marking the way, the torch handed on by others we must keep alive today. The prize to the one who earns it, let this be a golden rule, and ever enhances merit, the slacker is folly's tool. The nobles to run and the champion, each one can but do his best. The winner's despair depends on the efforts of all the rest. To be in the fight is not all, for each has to play his role. The team wins the match at football, though one man must kick the goal. The prize to the one who earns it, let this be a golden rule, and ever and
enhances merit, the slacker is foolish too. Or in vacation, uphold alma mater name, whatever the place or occasion, remember to play the game. To win and be sporting is easy, to lose with a smile is hard, and yet to the sportsman rarely the game is its own reward. The prize to the one who earns it, let this be a golden rule. Endeavor enhances merit, the slacker is folly too. And when boyhood days are over, a motto must still remain. For only by earnest endeavor the highest we shall attain. A truly great West Indies, be this a constant aim, some mountain insular boundary, a people in more than name. The prize to the one who earns it, let this be a golden rule. Endeavor enhances merit, the slacker is folly too.
Thank you very much. You must be seated. Yeah. Hip, hip, hip. Hooray. Hip, hip, hip. Hooray. I shouldn't be doing that. Hip, hip, hip. Hooray. Great is the GBSS.
Now you're a GBSS boy.
Ah, finally. Yeah, honorary or anything else, I'm happy to be here. Based on the comments of the author earlier on, I'm happy to report that there are several complimentary copies that will be handed out this evening, and I would invite the Reverend Stevenson Worm. That's prophetic. Honorable? I don't know. To come and to present complimentary copies to the following persons whose name I will call.
Let me just add here that this book is in dedication to Mr. Victor Ashby, Mr. Norman James, who worked here as the janitor for many years, Mrs. Glenda Mason Francis, Miss Anthea Lord, and of course the Old Boys and Old Girls Association. So in dedication, let's put our hands together for these individuals.
I would like, you want to do it from up here or you want to go down? Okay. I would like to invite Mr. Victor Ashby. He's not here this evening, I'm sorry. So the book will be presented to him at a later time. Miss Anthea Lord is here. Please come. Mrs. Glenda Mason Francis. The bag. Mr. Kenny James. Mrs. Lisa Lord. Mrs. Lisa Lord is not here with us today. Mr. Basil Bonaparte. Mrs. Martina Alexis. And Mrs. Alexis did the formatting for the book. So I wasn't asked to do this, but just in case you're writing a book yourself and need some formatting help. Yes. Reverend Christopher Baker. Ms. Kathy James, the Chief Education Officer. Who I suspect, based on Mr. James's address, is also honorary member of the GBSS from today. Yes. That's the list. Yes. The other two persons who will receive copies of the book are P.S. Elvis Moraine and Ms. Lorraine St. Louis Ned. It is now the opportunity to say thanks, and I would like to invite Ms. Donessa Sylvester to do the vote of thanks. I know you've been applauding a lot this afternoon, but you know, it is the final time after all.
A pleasant good evening to everyone. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to deliver the vote of thanks at this memorable occasion, the official launch of History of the Grenada Boys Secondary School, 1885 to 2024. This milestone could not have been achieved without the support, dedication, and encouragement of many individuals and organizations today. We pause to recognize and express our heartfelt appreciation to all who made this event possible. First, sincere thanks to all the persons who played a role, big or small, in making this book launch the success that it is. Your collective efforts have not gone unnoticed. A special thank you, goes out to the book launch committee, whose tireless planning, coordination, and commitment have truly paid off. You brought vision and execution together in the most impactful way. We are deeply grateful to Headmaster Kenny James and the staff for facilitating the event. Thank you, Mr. James, for your remarks. May you continue to give sterling leadership to this noble institution. To the Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Richard Simon, Thank you for expertly guiding us through the proceedings with professionalism and grace. To Evangelist Brian Worm, we extend our gratitude for beginning today's event with such a heartfelt and ground-opening prayer. We also express appreciation to Mr. Kenny James, who brought insightful remarks as the staff representatives. Thank you for highlighting the deep connection between faculty and the school's legacy. To Ms. Kathy James, Acting Chief Education Officer, thank you for your thoughtful remarks and for representing the Ministry of Education with such warmth and conviction. Mr. Wayne Bubb, your reflection as a past student were especially nostalgic and humorous. Thank you for sharing your memories and for reminding us of the school's long-standing impact. We were also delighted by the unique perspective shared. From the eyes of two old girls, presented by Inspector Portia Nicholas and Ms. Daria Maras, your stories beautifully illustrated the wide-reaching influence of the GBSS across communities and generation. Mr. Lincoln Deberdine, thank you for your congratulatory remarks and your wonderful sentiments about your alma mater. Your commitment to the cause and legacy of GBSS is deeply appreciated. Mr. Basil Bonaparte, your reflection as a former Spanish teacher resonated with many, and your wonderful words about the author was touching and well received. Thank you for your enduring contributions to the school and this initiative. To Bishop Baker, thank you for your powerful blessing of the books. Your words imbued the launch with spiritual significance. To the protocol team, officers and ushers, thank you for ensuring today's proceeding ran smoothly and with dignity. Your presence and professionalism are deeply appreciated. A special thank you to Ms. Martina Alexis and Alexis Prenton, not only for her outstanding work with the formatting of the book, but also for her invaluable support throughout the process and your great work over the years. So folks, in case you need brochures and corsages for weddings, funerals, and other events, please contact her at 416-8521. Our gratitude extends to the GBSS fraternity. Your encouragement and representation today means a great deal. Ms. Lisa Lord, your assistance in providing invaluable information for the compilation of this book is deeply appreciated. We are truly grateful for your unwavering support and dedication to the school. We also acknowledge the love and support of our families, friends, and well-wishers. Your belief in this journey kept us going and uplifted us during challenging moments. To our partners in communication, special thanks to the folks who assisted in the decoration and organizing of the auditorium. May God bless you. TNR Communications, thank you for your media support and for helping us share this message far and wide. A heartfelt thank you to Gary Seaven for the video production and to Mr. and Mrs. Aaron King for your generosity and assistance throughout this journey. To Mrs. Deanne Thomas Francis of the Ministry of Education, your involvement has been both appreciated and impactful. We also extend sincere thanks to the Ministry of Education with special mention of Permanent Secretary, Mr. Elvis Morin, for your unwavering support of education and literary efforts. Once again, to each one of you, thank you for being a part of this celebration and for walking with us on this journey. May this book serve as a symbol of power, of collaboration, vision, and community spirit. Great is GBSS. Thank you, and may God bless you. Sorry, the GBSS.
So you must include the, right? Okay, all right. Got to get things right these days. I want to thank you for giving the vote of thanks, Ms. Sylvester. Ladies and gentlemen, you are invited to look through the display of author WORME's work, but also there's a book signing and autographing session as well. And he's also willing to accept your money. So you can take a book home. And of course, you get a chance to get a photograph with the author as well. That's free, you don't have to pay for that. Thank you so much for coming. It was a wonderful opportunity to celebrate another milestone in Grenada's recorded history. God bless you richly.